But anyway, let's. I just wanted to bring that up because
I know.
I worked during the same era I did, and the frustrations of not having a photo say because when you want to get someone ID'd, you have to make what's called a photo array.
Correct. Yes.
And for our audience, it's the photo of the subject and 5 other photos.
Correct.
And they have to be sort of wearing the same thing. There can't be any blaring things in the background. That
if your subject had a beard, everybody had to have a beard.
Right.
You know, it had to be the sort of same skin tone, same, as close as you can get, hair wise, age wise, and stuff like that.
So it's almost like when being in RIP, you had to be pretty good at arts and crafts.
Oh yeah,
You did well in Miss Miller's
cutting
art
pictures,
class.
getting the white out, the cover, whatever it is,
Right, you had to know how to do all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I know.
Or draw an earring on everyone,
Yes.
The subject has. I remember one time I actually did a live lineup, and I just painted a mustache on these guys with one of those scripto pens, and it actually worked.
Yeah.
If you're standing back from the glass,
right,
it looked like a real mustache. I was like, wow. Yeah.
All good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, all great stuff. So tell us now, how did RIP, the Robbery Investigation Program, and anti-crime interact in the 6-7?
Well, we were like, they were like the guys in the squad we really, were in contact with. I mean, they had asked, if they had a nickname, we would ask them, they would ask us, hey, this guy from, 9-3 in Rutland, you ever hear this guy, this, that, and the other thing. And they would tell us, who's wanted, who's doing stick-ups, what do they hear on the street. And it was just a constant, communication back and forth between us and them to let us know, to let each other know what was happening. Right. And you know what? Everybody wanted to go to RIP and anti-crime. That was the other thing.
I mean, also the fact that a precinct commander could promote from patrol into anti-crime, and from anti-crime into RIP, gave him a huge power, and because everyone wanted it. You wanted to impress your precinct CO, right?
Oh yeah.
And it sort of made you behave.
Yes, it did. It did.
Right?
But it was a great program. I said anti-crime, was great, and I'd say RIP was even better. But anti-crime is where you make that jump. You make the jump from patrol to the plainclothes, and you take off from there. Which happened to me. I really took off when I got to anti-crime, and things went great for me after that.
And how was would you had a team with 6 cops and a sergeant?
Yeah, it was. I think we had either 5 or 6 guys.
And you alternated 4 to 1, 10 to 6.
Right. I mean, that was another great thing. No rocking around the clock. It was either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, Monday off, and you work days and nights.
And you still got chart days back then.
And you got chart days. Yeah. So add that to your vacation days. It was another 18 days off a year.
But something, people don't understand what a cop's life is like, and sometimes you have to take a day off, burn a day off, just because you're exhausted.
Yeah.
Right. And people don't understand. Well, what do you mean you don't? What do you mean? Well, I work 36 hours straight.
Yeah.
Like they don't understand that. A teacher or someone working on Wall Street that you worked 36 hours straight.
No, I mean, you know what? It happened a lot to us. Because the precinct was so busy that a lot of times we had to jump in and out of. We jumped into uniform.
Right.
Whatever. Got patrol guys collared up. There was the sectors, a bunch of sectors knocked out. You got to suit up and do it. Or whatever. You were finishing up at 4 to 12. If you didn't have a collar or whatever, they'd anybody looking to hang on the midnight. And we were all gung ho. Yeah, I also worked the midnight. And,
I haven't had enough of this shit. I want to do another tour. I love this shit.
Everybody either fell asleep or had a collar. We were out there,
Well, that's the crazy thing about midnights is that if you don't work midnights steady, I forget the exact hour. It's either 3 or 4. You just pass out.
Yeah.
You fall asleep just because you're on a day schedule, and you just can't stay awake.
Well, a little gunfire usually wakes you up around 4:30 when the club's lit.
as they're going for they're going for the after the bar's closed meal, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that was the thing too. Like you said, like a quiet Sunday morning. Some of the most busiest times was Sunday morning, just driving into work when the clubs are letting out.
Yeah, isn't that
And
crazy?
I just thinking of that one. I remember stories just sitting coming out of the precinct. It was a midnight. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and I was parked. It's parked by the Africa House, which is a club in on Snyder Avenue in Bedford in the 6-7. And as we're sitting there, we get a job, and the Central comes over holding 77 jobs in the 6-7. Handle a dispute, that came in at noon on Martens and Nostrand, and I'm like, it's 5:30 in the morning. Somebody called 911 12 whatever hours ago, and now we're going to this job. And as we're next to the Africa House, you hear the gunfire start going off, and you look across the street, and there's four hands out the window of a car with each got a gun, shooting rounds in the air.
Oh, shit.
Now we got the people coming out of the club. They see us in the car. What do? They run to the car. Now we have a sea of humanity on the car. They're trying to break the door, pound the window, trying to climb into the car. It wasn't till they all
Full capacity. Sorry.
I'm trying to inch up the car, trying to start, stop. I don't want to run anybody over, but I want them to fall off. And lo and behold, once the people get away from the car, they're still there. And boom, we hit the gas. We get a little pursuit. They were from out of town, so they didn't know where they were going. So we caught up with them, and it was a nice collar, but that's what happens in the middle of the night. So you always
they didn't hit anybody though, did they?
No, it was just recreational, just letting off a little.
Because when you think about it, they really can't go to a range with those illegal guns.
Yeah.
Well, they're not fair,
Right, yeah. They're
So
great
stuff. Did I go up on the roof of a housing project, or
Yeah, we had a lot of clubs in the precinct, so that always brought. You had your time. It was really not busy until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And then.
But with those clubs, you can also get beef from one part of Brooklyn to another part of Brooklyn.
Right, yeah.
From Manhattan came to Brooklyn to settle a beef in this club, right? You get that kind of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where there's a lot of violence with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I used to love when people would we'd have it in the 2-3 where people would throw a huge party in their apartment in the housing project, and people would come from all over, and of course some shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Someone gets dissed. Someone from Brooklyn.
Weird how that happens, right?
Yeah. They didn't like the Brooklyn fronts. Remember those gold teeth they used to
Oh yeah.
on?
Well, that's the thing. You used to see the flyers up in the neighborhood, whatever they called it, Dollarama, gun in a baggie party, all these crazy parties they would have, and another quick story about the club scene is that at the time we had our CO was Captain Dever, who put me into anti-crime. Great guy. When he first came to the precinct, he was astonished at the amount of violence in these clubs. So he decided to get us guys in anti-crime and a couple of SNU guys, and we did we got a little team together, and we went out hammering these clubs on a night. This one night, we were towing cars and writing summonses and all this other stuff. And
did these clubs have liquor licenses?
Some did.
Some were just illegal clubs. Right.
They were just rooms or converted, storefronts and stuff. And so we had grabbed maybe, if we started at 6 o'clock at night, probably by about midnight, maybe we had 3 or 4 guns, guys, we used to have things hooked up with some of the bouncers. You could see guys getting turned away, and they'd give us a little signal, or you could watch guys walking off, hiding the gun. We picked up a few guys, nothing crazy.
Right.
Well, the captain was getting a little bit, man, I got all these guys in, and I was hoping for something to happen. And he said, take it easy. It's only 4 in the morning, because some guys are still in the barbershop, some of these guys. They'll be out soon. So me and my main partner, Chris Higgins, we worked together for most of our time in crime, and he's the greatest street cop I ever worked with. But we went out on a little drive around the neighborhood, and we ran it up to this club on Rogers Avenue called the Spare Wheel Disco and Lounge. You know, it was about the size of like a garage, you know, a regular.
Did you have your hair blown back and you were in your disco clothes or what?
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said, did you have your hair blown back and were you wearing your disco shoes or what?
No. The usual, you know, green army jacket and baseball.
Oh, you were wearing the anti-crime uniform.
Yes.
The only thing I used to get pissed off about was when someone wore a football jersey. I'd be like, do you not want to make a collar? Keep wearing that fucking football jersey. Don't ever wear a football jersey again. You know?
So what happened is anyhow, we passed this club and there's a couple of guys shooting up in the air out front of the place. They see us and they run into the club and we go running into the club after them. And guys are climbing out windows and all that. We want to get like 18 guns out of this place.
Oh, shit.
It's just this one little, like I said, it was the size of a normal like garage. You
and
know,
it was just you and your partner?
I'm sorry, what's that?
It was just you and your partner?
It was you and me, and then the other guys in the task force, you know, we called the 85 and everybody came. And we were able to just lock up just a handful of those people, guys who had the guns still on them or we saw them toss them and that. But we were finding guns, you know, the toilet, coolers of beer and stuff like that. So, you know, it was great. By the end of the night, we had about, I would say at least, you know, 24 guns, you know, 15, 20 collars, cars, tones, summonses, all types of shit, great shit went on.
Why do you think in the 6-7, I'm not sure, I mean, not just the 6-7 on the precincts back then, but why did people think they needed or could get away with carrying a gun?
Well, there was a lot of things. First of all, guys always felt they needed to for protection, you know, for protection from the other bad guy. And the other thing was a lot of clubs had some of these, you know, heavy players that were bouncers there that would let certain guys in based on one faction, you know. So they weren't worried about getting caught. It wasn't like, you know, they wouldn't get thrown out of the club. They go in there knowing that the people at the door would protect them.
Right.
You know, but a crazy thing happened. Just going back to that story, what happened that night is Happy Land burned down that night.
Oh, in the Bronx.
The Bronx.
The 89 people dead, I think.
Yeah. So so of course, you know, how come these things go on? You know, you know, how does these places, you know, no license, all these people, there's, you know, where are the police and all this? So here we are, our little band of merry men, and all our guns and collars, and you know, the captain got a good, you know, good write up on it for him.
Right. I remember after Happy Land, the police department's response to that was just to check all the social clubs they had in their precinct.
Yeah.
That were illegal, and then just visit them. That was their. They didn't really do anything.
Right.
Not till years later did they come up with the nuisance abatement. Where I remember a club or a bar could have fights, stabbing, shootings, and no one would ever go after their liquor license. But then, of course,
that was like, you know, in Brooklyn, you got to, you know, you had an illegal club, maybe you get arrested. In Manhattan, you lost your license, you know, right. And what's worse? You know, that's why a lot of these guys should say, I got to pay my taxes once in a while, meaning that they had to take a collar once in a while.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, but in Manhattan, I know that, you know, once it hit the Comstead era, if bars had any kind of fights or they would take, you know, they would give them a nuisance abatement summons.
Right. Yeah, then they started doing the padlock places with the euro and stuff like that. Yeah.
And that's when the owners of these clubs started paying attention. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Crazy shit. And I saw some of you on what you wrote, that you guys made 323 gun collars. Was that in a year?
No, that was my number. I always remembered the number because my wife's car was a Mazda 323, and I used to drive it back and forth. So when I got to RIP, I think I checked through the book and looked through all the collars, and I wasn't always the AO in those cases, but those were like a Chris made a gun collar, or later on when we worked with another great guy, Richie Bergen. You know, we were all looking to make a raid. It wasn't like I made the arrest every day. You know, it was me, it was Richie, it was Chris, it was Will Galligan, it was Marty Mull. You know, everybody got you know had a collar. So that was like a total of my anti-crime career.
Wow, that's an impressive number. You know.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was nights like that where you got 15 guns or 4 guys in the car. There was a lot of guns, and
How was the Brooklyn DA's office in drawing up these gun towels?
some good, but mostly not so good. It was like, it is. We were down there going to the grand jury so often, and you didn't always get the cooperation. It was like, they looked at like the bulge or the furtive movement as like, something akin to like Bigfoot. Oh,
Yeah.
let me guess, another bulge or whatever. And yeah, there's guys that have bulges. There's guys that we weren't dealing with the Brooklyn law. We were dealing with the criminal procedure law that
Right.
reasonable suspicion and when we could stop people. They kept changing that, and they wanted to say, everything a bulge is no good. You have to see the handle or the barrel or the shape of a gun in somebody's pants, and it's just ridiculous. I'm
Well,
not going
didn't
to.
they also in Brooklyn back then, or maybe it was even before that, a lot of the people from the Caribbean would have the gun with the wire going through the barrel
Yes, yes,
and
yeah.
attached
A
to
little
the
like a
head.
coat hanger that was shaped like a big U. They
Right.
put the barrel in there and they put the other clip in there. Yeah, guys had all that type of stuff. Guys, and a lot of guys would wear like a belt around the upper chest and stick the gun up here. Um, so there was all types of ways to try to beat the search, so to speak.
There was Brooklyn creativity back then.
Yeah, well, you got to survive, right?
That's great. So let me ask you about, people always want to hear about the exciting things like the gunfights and stuff. And you had 2 combat crosses, right?
Yes.
Did you get one of them in anti-crime or both?
One I did with was me and Chris Higgins. Yes.
And what happened with that?
Actually, I have a little one of the 911 tapes from it, but I don't know if it even come across if I could play it. But what happened is that we were on anti-crime patrol, me and Chris, and it was a cold January night, and a couple of rookies were on a foot post. I mean, you could tell they were rookies. They were actually out there at 11 o'clock at night, when it's like 0 degrees out. It was a January night. But a person ran up to him and said, I just got robbed. That guy over there robbed me. He's got a gun. So they get on the radio and they put it over the radio. And we hear it. We jump on it. And now we're coming over to where they are. And they're giving the direction of where the perp's going. They're a little bit off. They didn't know, east from west or whatever. And anyhow, we get to the scene where we see them. They're maybe a block away, and they're pointing down the block, and it's the only one guy walking on the street. So what we do is we take off in the crime car. Chris is driving. I jump out, and which we've done 1,000 times. But we always knew what each other was doing for the most part.
You know something, Mike? That is so great because that is how anti-crime cops talk to each other. Let me out, and then they'll cut the guy off with the car.
Right. So that was the plan. Like I said, depending on who was driving or whatever.
Yeah.
I come up on foot.
And you almost know instinctively to do that without even talking to your partner.
Right. I mean, we like I said, we were like we knew everything each other was doing. So what happens is I get out, I'm coming up behind the guy, and Chris mounts the sidewalk in front of him, and I run up behind the guy, and I try to put him up against the hood. And the guy's a big guy. I mean, like big, like 6 foot, well over 6 foot tall. And he's a burly guy.
Yeah.
And I'm trying
to. In Manhattan, we'd say he was cock diesel.
Yes. So we're so I'm struggling with the guy yelling, please, stop, don't move. He's not having it. And I reach around like his neck. I'm up on his back, and I'm hitting him with the gun. I'm trying anything to try to get him under control, and I'm trying to grab him around the neck. And he reaches to his pocket, and he pulls a pistol out.
Oh shit!
And as I got him around the neck, he pops around, and it like shoots off my wrist. And I start shooting him. Chris is out, and now the guy shoots Chris. He's got the gun pointed across the hood, the hood, and now we're both shooting at him. And the guy eventually falls. Even a couple of patrol guys pulled up and fired a couple of shots. So the guy wouldn't fall. He didn't fall down, and he kept squeezing the gun. And one thing that saved this is that he only had 2 live rounds in the gun.
Wow.
So we fired two.
Did he miss the last? Did he miss the last range cycle? Where they
Yeah, something must have happened. I think he had a previous, whatever.
They didn't give him his new box.
Yeah, so that was it, and it was just crazy, And I said I was just like listening to the tape when I was looking through some of my stuff. It's like you think about it, I mean, we were, when Chris came around in the front of the car and the guy fired around and whipped the pistol, it was the three of us, like hand to hand.
Yeah, yeah.
And how the perp didn't hit us and how we didn't shoot each other.
That's what I was wondering. Did Chris almost shoot you?
Yeah, it was a miracle. And I talked to the.
Did the perp die?
Yes.
Okay.
So
who was he? When did you find out after his demise who he was?
Yes.
I mean, what was his criminal history and all of
that? He was a Jamaican guy, but no known record, which doesn't usually, doesn't always surprise, because some guys will come in, whatever, maybe they come in for a job to do a job and leave. Guys will, there was nothing really that I remember that came up.
Was that common in the 6-7 that someone would come there, do a hit, and fly back to Jamaica?
Yeah, sort of like a gangster thing, People, guys would do that, and it would.
That happened a lot in Washington Heights, where a guy would come from the Dominican Republic, whack somebody, get on the next flight back to the Dominican.
Yeah, I mean, the Jamaican guys were known for that kind of stuff too, and from other states and you know what, the system didn't really. You could say your name is Bill Cannon, and if you get arrested, it's not till your prints come back and all that other stuff.
Right.
That we could really say, no, that's not Bill Cannon, that's so and so, that's this guy. But he uses many names. So, but this guy was not really on any sort of radar.
Did you get grazed from the shot across your wrist?
Yes, just slightly. Nothing crazy. But Chris had actually powder burns in his eyes. And I mean, that's how close we are with the guns flying, and the bullets flying all over the place,
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a crazy thing. And even the guys pulling all the other cops on the scene that witnessed it, were like, oh my God, I can't believe you guys aren't dead. It was just one of those things. Like I said, I was just listening to the tape saying, you know what, you think about, man, that was the last words. You listen to, the tape as it leads up to the shooting and say, man, that could have been the last word.
That's the kind of thing that, when they talk about cops having PTSD, that's the kind of thing that, you could wake up in the middle of the night reliving that thing,
Yeah, well, it's, you don't really think about that type of stuff, but when you go back and actually somebody was showing me the, I don't know, it was some sort of video. I don't even know where it came from, but I think it was Officer Mulkeen from the Bronx and his partner in a radio call shortly before they got involved. And, and they're listening to the tune on the radio and everything's great. And then boom, a second later, it could just be gone, Yeah. So.
That's all it takes, right?
Yeah.
And then, so that was your first combat force.
That was my second, actually.
Oh, that was your second.
The first one, I think we talked about the last time when I got shot in the vest.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I was on patrol at that time, and that's what that's what got me into anti-crime. I mean, I was pretty active guy on patrol, hoping to go to anti-crime, but after I had gotten shot the first time with that, in the vest and that thing. Captain Dever told me the next spot's yours if you want it.
That's great.
So I jumped on it.
Did you work with Mike Ryder?
He was a little before me.
Okay, yeah, I went to
one of the guys. He was one of the guys.
College with him.
Yeah, he's one of the guys you wanted to be. When you came to the command and you were on patrol.
Tough guy. He's a real tough guy.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of ass kicking guys in that command.
Yeah,
even guys that didn't go to anti-crime, they were street cops and they loved the collar and go out there and do the right thing. They were a really great group of guys we had over there.
And usually what people don't understand is that in a real busy command, the cops are tight.
Yes.
And they back up other cops like crazy, where in a slow command, sometimes they don't get it,
Right, yeah, no, we had a great group of guys during that mid-'80s to mid-'90s, 85 to 95, let's say. We had a really, and we still get together. We have, well, now with the Wuhan, we haven't been able to have a reunion.
Yeah, doesn't that suck, man? It's like this whole,
Yeah.
it's like you're sort of stuck in your house, even though, you can go out here and there, but you can't do the things you want to do. You can't travel. You can't
I know.
really go to many restaurants. You go to a restaurant, they want you to sit outside with the carbon monoxide from the cars,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's nuts. So and then eventually, do you want to move on from anti-crime to your RIP career? You got some more stuff to tell us about anti-crime.
Well, one thing I could, I'll tell one anti-crime story that sort of leads into RIP, which was pretty cool, and it's actually my I want to say it's probably my favorite or top 3 arrests. We were driving around anti-crime, and we saw a young woman walking down the street. She's like wobbling, her eyes all blown out, and we're trying to ask her what happened. And the woman was so nice. She didn't even know we were the police, And, a couple of the knuckleheads on the corner had to say, they're cops. Tell her what happened. Tell her what happened, And she's like, oh, okay. And she said that she got robbed at gunpoint, and they took her purse. And all right, get in the car. We whip around, and we start riding around the area. Looking, she tells us it's a guy and a girl. So we're riding around, we're looping around, and boom, there's the guy and the girl walking down the street. She screams, that's them, that's them. We jump out, we chase them. Now they run into this, well, we could call it a house of worship, but not really. It was like a black Israelite, some faction of the Yowie type building on Clarkson in East 51st Street. What it really was, it was like something out of, was it Fagin or Oliver Twist? There were stick-up guys.
Oh, it's a school for criminals.
Guys, stick-up guys who would recruit, and sometimes by force, younger people into doing armed stick-ups. So anyhow, we run in, we ran in, and that was like a no-no for, it's a sensitive location. The job, everybody was afraid of that place, because, it was politically, connected or whatever. But anyhow, we ran in there, we grabbed.
They could say you desecrated this religious institution.
Right. But whatever, we ran in, we grabbed the guy and the girl, and we grabbed the gun. It had a nice Smith, that was a nice Smith 9, One thing, people always had nice guns in the 6.7,
Yeah.
I mean, some guy, you come across your Ravens or your Saturday night specials, but they had a lot of nice guns, Meanwhile, we're running around with a weapon that pretty much was the same gun used to fight Indians 200 years before.
You still had the 4-inch Smith and Wesson.
Right, but these guys are running around with Glock 10s and 40 cals.
I think they first went to in '92. They gave us 9s, and it was just the anti-crime and the
right?
I
never got one, so.
Never got a 9?
No, I never got a 9.
You stayed with the 38 your whole career?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
You had all these gunfights with a 38.
Yeah. It always went off, But so anyhow, what happens is we grab a man, gray collar and all that, and we get back and I speak to the victim, and she says, "Did you find my pocketbook?" No, we didn't. Well, it had, I think she said it had like $4,000 in it. What was it, $4,000? What the hell are you doing with that kind of money? Well, I worked all summer at McDonald's and I was saving it. I was putting in the bank. I needed money. I want to go to college and I couldn't get in. So I had to save all this money all summer to go to college. Now I'm like, oh, we got to get this girl's money.
Yeah.
So now by the time all the stuff is, the smoke's cleared, the hoopla, the pursuit and all that back, about an hour is gone at least. So we asked our 2 guests at the time, the young couple, what happened? Oh, we threw it on the street. I don't know what you're talking about. And they weren't giving anything up. So I said, the hell with it. I shot up there and I started riding around. And I see a pocketbook hanging on a fence post. Sort of in the same area where we found the girl, where the knuckleheads were on the corner. And they're standing there and I'm like, hey, good looking out, fellas, you let, a young girl get beat like that and robbed, and they're like, but we mind our own business type shit and all that. So I pick up the pocketbook and I reach in and there it is. the envelope.
And it still had the $4,000 in it?
Look at these guys. You should have paid a little more attention. And there's 4 G's in that envelope.
Wow.
I went back to the precinct, and that girl, man, she cried. And it was special, you know. And I mean, I never spoke to her really after that again. I mean, it was over and done. But that's one thing about patrol; it was pretty much over and done with. But I hope she went to. I hope she became a doctor or something. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great story.